How we doing? Are we back yet? Looks like we're coming back. Okay. Enough delay. Do I have a crowd out there? Hey, thank you. Sorry about that. I was having drop packets and disconnects and everything else. I found the source. I got a couple more drop frames, it looks like, but we're gonna kick into this, see if we can get this rolling. It's just me and you today. It looks like let me get my ZENcast presentation up, and we're up. Hopefully we'll go smooth and we'll be able to see. Anybody out there in chat, just checking in, seeing if anybody was able to reconnect. All right. So we will see how this goes. So ZENcast today, ZENworks maintenance part 1. So this is going to be a 2-part series. This one had some issues just trying to get my creative juices flowing, and probably because this is too big of a topic, right? So I'm looking forward to getting some response from you so that you can give me some details of what you're looking for. As far as maintenance goes, I have some things that I put aside and took care of. We're going to be shifting things as the new year comes in. We're going to have a little bit of a facelift. We're going to have a little bit of things in your surveys. I appreciate those that have done the surveys because they help me tailor this a little bit better and get the right content. Next, in 2 weeks, I'm not going to be presenting. We're not going live in 2 weeks. Hello, Don. Thank you for joining us. Let me know if the stream, if we get broken frames and stuff. Yeah, it looks like it's breaking up. We're gonna try and go through this. Let me know if the audio is also broken up, because I can turn off me, and at least we can go through the presentation and do some demo stuff. So I'm getting drop frames. I thought I had it detected and figured it out, but it doesn't look like it. So in the meantime, let me go ahead and turn me off so we can at least get that taken care of. Okay. So thanks for joining, Don. I appreciate that. I'm wondering why I didn't get you in my chat. So let me do this. I'm going to do this. Open this up so I can see you in chat. Not in that chat. Interesting. Let me sign back into chat again, see if I can get somebody. So again, audio is good. Okay, thanks. I appreciate that. We're gonna go ahead and I won't be the talking head today. I'll just be narrator. So ZENcast December 5th is going to be canceled. So we're pushing that off to January 5th, the part 2 of this series. The reason why is I'm actually moving out of my location, and they turn off the internet on the 14th. So it's going to be a little bit difficult to get that news out to you guys. So just so you know, we're going to be actually showing part 1 of the series today, part 2 in January. And hopefully we'll have some a new facelift. We'll have a better way to communicate. Maybe have some audio for you guys to dial into. So we're trying to improve the stream the best we can. I appreciate those that filled out the survey, because some of this stuff that I'm showing you here can be learned or put in the descriptions. So just remember that, and we don't need to repeat them each ZENcast. So just subscribe so you get to know when we're coming on, and we'll be able to you'll be notified from that. And then any of the links, which I've been trying to do, is put the links that are in here in the description, and we'll show you that in just a little bit. There is a gathering, obviously us today. We're not meeting again next on the 15th, just so you know. Microfocus Bangalore Technical Conference is starting up. So you can register there by going to the mfcommunityswugo.com, BLR TechCon. You can have one-on-one with developers. There's a few slide decks, and there'll be some recordings available, so mostly live, and there are NDA considerations. So just be aware that you may not be able to get all of it. So if you can participate, now this is European time. So they're doing this over in India. They're going to be on Central European time. So be aware of that. So us in the U.S. will be late at night if we want to join. Patch Tuesday highlights. November's released. December's released mid-December. So, and that's on after Patch Tuesday comes out, and they analyze and they give a description of it. So go out to the tips and information on the community board for that. Also, ZENworks extension for Open Workgroup Suite. If you have an Open Workgroup Suite and you want some additional, you want the full ZENworks suite, you can purchase apparently this ZENworks extension for Open Workgroup Suite. And that was something I just fell upon as well in the forums. So you can actually get desktop containers, asset management, full disk encryption, service desk, a standard edition, and a discount on patch management. So those things are available now for if you own OWS. All right. And I think that's pretty exciting. So you can actually expand and get some of those features you may have wanted that OWS didn't originally have for you. So that's there. And then product news. We're, of course, on 2020 update 1. There's imaging driver updates, a PRU November. I checked. December's not in yet, so it'll be a couple days. Normally it's about the 2nd or 3rd, so we missed that cutoff just by a day or so. ZENworks Service Desk 8.2 is a recent. We do have an online appliance update. So if we went back over here in ZRS, I already did the patches. Of course. Let's try and get back in. So if you have ZRS, CCM, ZSD, double check your online updates. These were pretty much done just recently. And this is some hot fixes that were done for Tomcat vulnerability. So make sure you get the latest in there. ZENworks Service Desk Appliance online updates. Again, this is 8.2. Did release. I'm going to log back in. Okay. And again, you have some Service Desk releases and security updates there. So know that those are there. ZCM 28, ZCM online updates as well. This is 20.1. It's going to probably, yeah. So so these are needed patches. And again, at the bottom, or actually this is ZCM. So it has the server updates in here for security patches. All right. So that's available. We can go ahead and install those actually. If you update now, it'll give us, do you know it's going to reboot? Yes. And I'll probably regret it later during my demo, but let's move on. Then we'll go over to ZRS, which I already did. We'll go to Service Desk and update those as well. Okay. So if you don't have an appliance, it's this simple to install the security updates. Here we are. Okay. We'll go back to our presentation. One of the things in the presentation, the survey, which I really appreciate, was some of the feedback on some of these details are good to have, but again, every time we meet, maybe put these in the description. One thing I do want to note that ZMM Legacy, the ZENworks Mobile Management, end of life in December 2020. Okay, so if you have ZMM, we won't be putting out any more patches or support for that. Okay, and we'll work with you to move to ZCM Mobile Management if we need to. ZNews is back. Double check that. And the other thing I'm trying to do with that faceless is try and have these things side by side so we don't have to keep going back and forth. I'm hearing that we want more demos than anything else. So being able to have them side by side would be really, really good. So I'm trying to figure out that logistics as well. So part of the, let's see, the PRU system up, check for updates. And then ZNews, which is under home. So you have the ZNews down here. Let's go a little bit bigger so you can see ZNews alerts, and you can update now. So mobile management 3, end of life, and Windows 10 support, H2. Okay, keep an eye there. I know it's been there a long time and we haven't been working this, but now that it's in full flow, I think it's a great resource for you to be able to click on the different details down here to get what you need. All right. And then if we go to, committed support for ZCM 2017 was extended. So if you weren't aware of that, it ended in October. It was targeted for October. They've extended it to April. All right. And then the IMG monthly newsletter, mobile management end of life, and ZENworks system update catalog discussion. If you haven't been there, double check out this discussion. It walks you through system updates nicely. That was created by a developer. ZENcast Live. So how are we doing? So here's the, and I don't think I'll put it over here. I log in with my wife's ID so that we can get, I can see if things are working. Let's see if the survey comes up so you can click on the link. We want to make sure we're meeting your expectations, making sure we make improvements. We have downloadable presentations. We also had some mention that, hey, I'd like to have those slides if you have them. So I'm hoping to be able to get that all formulated for January so that we can have a nice, start the year off right. Boy, 2020 has been rough, right? Again, connecting to the ZENworks online community. Let's get connected. Be sure to go out there. You can connect with peers, find solution, get downloads. All of this stuff will be in the description of this ZENcast. So you'll see these links there. If you need to, you can go back to the recording and find them. For instance, you'd go to the Micro Focus resources. You'd select ZENcast. You can select ZENcast would give you the last one. Full view would give you all of them, and then you can go on and pick. Inside that, you'd see at the bottom, show more, and then with that, you'd see the links. Okay, so just so you know that that's what we're moving to, so we don't take up time to in the demo for some of these repetitive things we do every ZENcast. Also, ZENworks certificates was the last demo. Top 5 things. We can hit assign now, even though it's not replicated. It'll just come from the one server that is fully replicated. But replication can take place during that process. And know the update GUID so you can actually track it in your logs. And remember, it's UTC time. And then can't cancel 10 minutes prior to the activation date and time. So the one thing that I try to let all my customers know, and I did as a customer myself, was as soon as you remint a CA, grab that system update standalone installer for the CA upgrade before it expires, before it's activated. As soon as it's activated, it says, okay, everybody has what they need. I'm going to take all the other resources away. You're on this certificate, right? So, and that's for security purposes. But grab that system update as soon as you remint. That would be obviously, and if just by saying that, we'd go to system updates, configuration, system updates. You go to download ZENworks tools, and then under updates, you'd have the certs right here. You can grab those, set them aside, and if any of those laptops or devices haven't connected, you can always send them that file, and then they'll be able to reconnect without having to unreg and re-reg and those types of things. Okay. All right. A couple more links from last review was some PostgreSQL external certificate with chains, ZSD, SSL certificate sites. So these will also be in the description on the last ZENcast, just so that you have them if you need to refer to them later. Topics today, two-part series, zone management. All right, we're going to do some ZENworks maintenance today. December 15th, no ZENcast, just wanted to repeat that. And upcoming 2021, we'll have the second part of the ZENworks maintenance. You guys are challenging me for patch management air-gapped. So that's what I'm going to hopefully do. I'm planning on doing it the second one of January. So we can do some patch management and maybe even figure out the air-gapped zone, how to update that and process patches even though it's not connected to the internet. And then imaging WinPE also. You can challenge me on that. It's been a few years since I've actually set that all up. So this is going to be a great challenge for me as well. Remembering some of those things and seeing the new developments in that area. And I'll try and get some guests for those, but that's what's upcoming in 2021. We're also going to be having, obviously, update 2 will be probably second quarter, ZSD migrations and so forth. Let's talk about today. So this is broad. I'm gonna really be out there and say, send me some questions if you don't have them. I got a canned thing that I put together as far as today's agenda, but this is where we can go sideways here. So we can tap into other areas just that you have maintenance in, because not every zone is the same, right? But one thing that's most important, I feel, is checking the environments. We're going to do a little bit of diagnostics and probe, database and logging. I'll show you some queries for content and figuring out how much, maybe which ones aren't assigned, which bundles aren't assigned. You know, they got dormant for some reason, or they're old, and you can remove them. They may have content in them, and so you're taking up disk space and so forth. The webinar index is a great resource, even though it's you may have some older webinars. Please look at this list, because this list still pertains. Okay, if you're looking at doing a deep dive in Android, or these all still pertain, and we've only improved the product so you can really see what's going on. If you hit the link, it'll probably ask you to register. Once you register in, it just plays it. So it's not like you need to wait for a webinar or anything. These two haven't been changed to link yet, but they will be. But there's a lot of great stuff out here. As a matter of fact, some of my stuff came from some of these webinars on maintenance and troubleshooting. So right down here, understanding troubleshooting ZENworks enhancements, or ZENworks inventory for content and so forth. So know that this index is here. It'll be in the descriptions, and many of these still pertain to what you're doing today. So great ideas, great details and content in there. And then this one is one I pulled off today, Micro Focus ZENworks Zone System Health Checks, that me and Arvin did actually last year, I think. About 12 months ago. So it has a lot of good details. This ZENcast can't cover all the maintenance, obviously. So I want to make sure that you have resources to go to. So there's things out there that you can actually tap into to see some very detailed information. Where to start? Where do you start, right? I mean, for the most part, I would think that you'd want to have your zone version or service desk version, database vendor and version, number of primary satellites, and so forth, right? You want to get a grasp of that, and then dovetail that into the system requirements to know what is out of date, what is legacy, and that you need to in your agent, keep it's backwards compatible, those XP and stuff, the 32-bit, Okay, number of users and roles, whether it's service desk with roles, administrator, supervisor, technicians, so forth, or just users or customers, or your Active Directory. Because as you evolve your ZENworks zone, as it evolves, you're going to need to adjust these things. And some of that is to adjust memory and space and so forth. Know your external systems and time sync. Seeing it where time sync's off a little bit and remote control isn't working. Something as simple as that. Primary server roles, we'll cover some of that today. Knowing which server, as you've added more and more primaries, which one was the number one, which one's holding which roles as you decommission others. We'll cover that. There's a great script for that. Information from, where's it sending its inventory to, where's it getting its ZENworks configuration from. I'm talking about the managed devices, what spokes are licensed and enabled, because you can be licensed for it but disable it because you're not using it right now. All right, updates and patches, as we saw, the online updates, or patching your Windows servers, or patching your workstations or satellites. And then expirations, end of life is your operating system end of life, database product, ports opened, DMZ, air gapped, etc. So I have this spreadsheet, which is just about confirmed, and this will be released next ZENcast. But this one is really nice to have if you're looking at your primaries and you need to know, I'm on 2008 on 11.4x. What do I need to do to get up to the 2020 update 1, right? Well, you can go to 19 or 16 or 12 even. But know that 12 is obviously one of the older ones, and it'll be rolled off again. So if you can go up higher, you should probably do that. Again, and what's the RAM significances? We beefed it up going into 2020. Part of that was because of the Vertica, if you decide to use Vertica or the Zookeeper functionalities. CPU and disk space, database requirements. If you're on certain databases, 11.2, well, obviously 2020 doesn't accept Oracle 11. So what do I have to do? What can I be on if I'm on 2020? Which affects your finances, right? You need to forecast for DBA work to be able to upgrade and so forth. So this will be released coming up the next ZENcast, because I'll have confirmed everything on here. I have a couple of discrepancies that I need to double check, but it also has satellites. What is your zone version, and what can be a satellite, as well as a workstation. Okay. And I know there's a couple of you that requested this, so I apologize for the delay. Back in August, I showed this off first, but then update 1 came out. Wanted to make sure it was complete with that. So I appreciate your patience on that. But this is one thing. And then if you look at over on the bottom, this is where I also have cookbooks for 2020. That spreadsheet will be in the cookbook for 2020 as well. Just like at the bottom of the cookbooks for Service Desk, we have those as well for upgrade strategies, right? You're on 7.0x. How can you get to 8.2? Well, you go increments of 1 or 2. So you can go 7.2, 7.4, 8.0, and 8.2. System requirements, the method. Do you do side by side or in place? System requirements. So they're all here, so it'll help you navigate through some of those questions you have as far as upgrading to the next version. So again, part of the maintenance is staying on the latest level, and I appreciate that you have those questions, and hopefully this fulfills some of those answers for you. Okay. Again, we're going to try and get this side by side so we don't have to keep flashing the screen at you. But having this really helps. I mean, part of it would be in the corporate documentation, having screenshots as a minimum. If you go to your service desk and you go to home and you get a screenshot of your ZENworks configuration. Oh, this is actually ZCM. Your ZENworks configuration, or if you go to your configuration so you can see what, you know, user sources you have and how they're configured and what user. Something as simple as that is really helpful when you have a disaster recovery or you just want to know about your upgrade and what your current status is. This one I don't have. Oh, that's not coming up. Oh, reboot is needed. That's why. Because I did that. Update. Told you I'd regret that. Okay. So we'll get to Service Desk in a minute. There's a few things you want to, you know, there's LDAP, there's email. Having those things, at least in a screenshot, is so helpful. Especially if somebody's coming in or you have weekend work. You know, the firewalls, do you have packets inspection turned on? Who's the DBA, right? I remember when I was at my previous employer, we were working and we had to get a hold of the DBA because there was a password we needed on our Oracle database. And we couldn't do the upgrade. We were right in the middle of the upgrade and we didn't plan for that. So having the DBA, knowing the DBA, at least letting them, make them aware what is going on. Your routing and networking, user admins for LDAP. And then, is it in a DMZ or, you know, what's the configuration? So having some of this in the corporate documentation really helps, along with the previous screen of knowing some of these as well. And then phone numbers for support, phone numbers for your administrators and those in the know, management, should things go awry, or just to update them that it's all successful. So ZCM system requirements, pretty simple. The spreadsheet will take care of that. The OS, database, hypervisor, RAM, zone version is important. But you can have a zone version and then have a different managed device, right? You can still have XP on 11.4 so that you're managing, okay? So the backwards compatibility is important to know. You don't want to just take out your XP devices if you do an update incorrectly or something. Primary satellite devices and LDAP. You know, what's the configuration of LDAP users, SSO, port certificates. Same with Service Desk, same type thing. Email, LDAP users. So having some of these details is really important to have in your corporate documentation just so somebody else knows about them or it's a quick reference. Because then when you do an upgrade, let's say to Service Desk, you could double check that OpenID is working. That should be one of your check boxes of a successful upgrade, right? That it was working as good or better than before the upgrade. Okay. And again, ZCM Zone, there's so many details in this. You have authoritative source, you know, you have important people like the roaming CIO, you have satellite data center, you have, you know, your primary core data center, what exists where, what certificates are going where. It really can be, you know, broad. And we have customers that they're just all over the country and the world, actually. So having some type of a zone design document is good to have. And then summing it up, I summed mine up this way, where I can see what ports are open, what the different devices do. Like we got a DC, we got a MSSQL database, we have a couple of servers, and then we have a couple in the DMZ. Where the locations are, what the link to the parent is, as well as how many workstations they support. Okay, so something like this is really nice to have. It is a little time consuming to put it together, but once it's together, if you keep evolving it, it's real easy to maintain, as long as it's maintained, right? We're talking a little bit about ZENworks appliances. Ports, health checks, system logs, memory adjustments. Those can be done on the ZENworks appliances. You have the online update with the exclamation point, the product upgrade, the ZENworks reporting configuration, So you have those things in your appliances. So it makes it a little bit easier to manage those appliances. Again, this is the memory heap dump for reporting configuration. And you could just set those there and restart services. Service desk as well. And then, of course, ZENworks appliance. You have a lot more interaction with a lot more different activities going on and tasks. So those can be set up and adjusted right in the appliance itself, or you can go into the TID to look at some of those. If we go to, I think I was going here, close. Should have rebooted by now. There it is. And if we go classic. I don't have my email set up, but email, critical, right? Did you turn on TLS? What port were you using? What's a username, password? Some of the setup environments here as well, or the LDAP, who you connected to. This happens to be eDirectory and LDAP server. How is it connected? Who are you using to log in? Licenses. Even the ZENworks, which I don't think I have configured on. Oh, I do. Okay. ZENworks import, I didn't configure yet. So having those different details in the documentation would be good. I think I beat that horse good enough, huh? Diagnostics for ZSD, system statistics. So it's appliance only now for ZSD, right? If we go back into reports, we can then see things like your system and how it's working. And 8.12 or 8.2 now allows you to see that second VA storage and the space on it. Okay. You can see the tasks that are running in the Java VM. So if I were to go ahead and kick off a LDAP task, if I can get over there, I'm going to sync. Done. We can then see under system that there's a task running. Okay. So you can see if things seem slow on your service task, you can see what's going on. Kind of check out if something's running long. Why is it running so long? Try and determine what's going on. Okay. And that's part of that. Doing memory adjustments, and then of course your logs are under logs, and you can export from there. The good thing about exporting the logs from the console is it gives us the database types and version. It gives us the licensing types and versions, what version you're on. So if you just send us a log, we have a lot of your environment information right there. And then of course ZCM diagnostics. Okay, remember, as you hover over some of these, you can get some details on what it's actually talking about. This one is 166, so it falls below the normal range, so it's normal. But should it go higher, you can see what those critical points are. This particular one shows not available. DNS was not running on this server, and I'll show you these two servers in a minute. But don't forget also about the probe. We have the probe in here, so if you select into one of these, and I'll show you in a minute, the ZENworks server or join proxy or something, you can actually dig deeper into what the issue is, should you have something critical over here. All right, and then memory adjustments. Doing the memory adjustments, you can look at the ZENworks monitoring and tuning document. And I think I did, I think you can get to it right there. All right. Okay. Everybody still there? You still there, Don? Let me know if audio is still working okay and video's okay. All right. Moving on. Database and logging. One of my favorite, my very, very favorite database queries is finding the roles. Okay, let's go do a little bit of database mining right now. We have, this is a ZENworks, I'm going to cut to the chase, ZENworks progress report. Fill out this survey, that'll be very helpful. You can change those thresholds, absolutely. And Kurt, I presume you're talking about, yeah, in ZCM, you can change those thresholds without a problem. That'll be in the tuning, and you can see those in the best practices and maintenance and tuning, monitoring and tuning. Thank you for that question. Okay, I'm going to close this now that you've seen that. We're going to go over to, we can close this. This is our webinars. This is our service desk. Get a few things closed here. I'm going to log in here. Thank you, Don. Fat finger it. There we go. Yeah. Okay. There we are. We can see both primary servers. I just put in ZCM Pri 1 in my zone yesterday, so we can have an additional primary server in there, which is 28. If we go to configuration on 28, or diagnostics on 28, we're going to see probably some failures here on the Win machine because I don't have DNS in my environment. Yeah, thanks, Kurt. ZCM, changing the thresholds in that tuning document. So we can't see them here, but you can see obviously over here, we see all of them. DNS is enabled. Actually, I hacked the host file. But I wanted to let you know that that wasn't really an issue, but it obviously shows an issue on this particular server, so we'd have to investigate why it can't see these, right? Let me go over to diagnostics here. Let's do the probe. We're going to dig into the probe here. We can look at ZENworks. Want you to log in. So I just picked one, but you can see the different threads those different areas are having. You can do thread pools. You can dump all threads if you want. If you do, typically support would ask you to dump threads for certain issues. Maybe high CPU utilization. There's a few TIDs out there for high CPU utilization. And we'll cover those next time. But you can see what's going on in these threads. And then you can also tap into them. If you do dump threads, it's good to see if threads are processing. One way to do that is to take a thread dump. And then 2 minutes later, take another thread dump and compare. And you'll see the numbers they should be fluctuating, right? Okay. And then different things like the system, the connectors that it's using. So there's more details in here. Memory utilization. Okay. System properties. Again, the diagnostics is a good 10,000 foot view, but digging in, you'd obviously use the threads and probe. You can always turn the probe off if you wanted to, but it's running so that you could see what's going on should you need to know about different issues on your box. Okay. So that's some of the probe, and it'll reach out to the other servers as well. Okay. Database, you can see what database it is. It's obviously a local. You can see, the schema, ZENworks, audit, the size this is a size that's being used, how much is being used by that database, not the size of the volume. Okay. And so let's look at my PGAdmin 4. My favorite, roles. You have satellite servers, you have primary servers. You want to know which one do I upgrade first when I go to do my system upgrade. Well, first you need to check for who has the CA role, and you can check who has a CA role in here in ZCC under certificates. You can see that the box has the CA role. You can always move it if you're decommissioning. But for this instance, CA role, you want to know who the primary server is. Let's just run this, and you see the whole gamut. And this will be in the descriptions in the recording. So feel free to grab this when after the recording is posted. So let me move this up. And we can see we now have that MDM certificate. We have Zookeeper, right? That'll be on one box and one box only. You have your cert, and you have your master primary, and a legacy handheld access point. Then you can see on the second primary, you have the normal stuff that you're normally ready to config. Should we move that role? Let's go ahead and pick ZCM Pri. Taking its time, gonna get it done. There we go. Notice it's ZCM Pri. We go back to the database. We should see this CA role, cert auth move down here. Let's run this again. Cert auth is now down here. Okay. So the man behind the curtain. This is all the neat stuff that goes on behind the curtain. This one will tell you everything and where that server actually exists. Now remember that this particular is Postgres. Okay, we have to do, in order to do GUIDs, we have to do some encoding. Did I do any on here? Oh, I didn't have to. Yeah, I did. Encode right here. Otherwise it just gives you a bit. So if you encode it to hex, you can actually get the hex code. Okay, so this is its GUID. And Postgres does that. And this is PGAdmin. If you're using other tools, the syntax will be a little bit different, or you can set, like in dbeaver, you can set it to always do the hex. Okay. So that'll help you as far as what primaries, what satellites, how do I do my upgrades, and who do I start with, that type of thing. All right. Any questions in the stream about that? I don't see any. All right. So those are the server roles. And another thing that we're looking at, and again, I apologize for going back and forth. So look at the logs. You can run ZDC anytime. Remember the helps. So they help me out quite a bit, actually. So for instance, if I wanted to go to, yeah, it's on here. Hang on. I got to scroll over. Help about Zone Certificate Authority. Okay. It'll pull up some help here and give you some documentation right on the fly. All right. Sometimes it'll reference the actual documentation to go to on the web, but it has online documentation itself for all of these pages. How to do it, what it stands for, what the rights are. One thing that's really handy with is doing these, for instance, these rights here, allowing and disallowing. It'll tell you exactly what those are. If we go roles, understanding the roles, and then adding roles. And then as you go into the role, you can actually see what they stand for. All right. So remember the help there. There's help here. And it takes you directly to that page in Service Desk on the web in the documentation. All right. Good to know. Good to know. All right. Let's go back to here. ZDC is non-intrusive. You can collect that anytime. Have the same version. Help again anytime. Some Zman commands like Zman CAS or ZAC ZenInfo or ZAC CI. If we go back to you can see who the certificate authority is. Remember, we have all these ZAC commands. If you just do ZAC, it'll give you a list, and you can then scroll through. Zman as well. It'll start from the very high level, Zman, and it'll give you all of your possibilities. And then we can do certificate authorities. Zman CAS. Every Zman command you have will be recorded in the Zman log, which is quite handy when you're having problems with Zman commands, syntax, and so forth. Zman log. If we go to the bottom here, we should see Zman CAS. Trying. Here we go. Let me grab this. CAS. Okay. If you do an incorrect Zman CASD, you get some error. It's the wrong syntax, and that'll be recorded in here as well. Very helpful. Very helpful. You could script your Zman commands to build, I think we did a ZENcast on that, to build a zone, right? Adding all the different characters in, all the different locations and stuff for building a zone. Okay, so those are great commands. Good to have as far as analysis, right? Trying to analyze what's going on your system. You can also run a ZAC ZenInfo on your primary server, which will collect that server log and all the zipped up archived and the loader messages log. So it really is helpful even if you're uncertain which log to grab off the ZENworks server, the primary server. Just run a ZAC ZenInfo and send it to us. And it'll have more than what we need, so that's good. Of course, some of the services command, the systemctl status, and then the service name, right? You have Novell Zen Loader, you have Novell Zen Server, Zen PostgreSQL, and of course that's the appliance in Linux. Windows, you have your services.msc, you'll find them in there. And then ZSD is an appliance only, so you have PostgreSQL and Service Desk for those services. Wouldn't it be better if I had these side by side? We'll figure that out. So if we went to, we'd go to console. And we'll go to, this one's on. Okay, so we're going to do system status service desk. And you can also put service desk.service. So you can see if it's actively running, or you can stop and restart. So those are there. Now, analysis on the ZCM server side. Remember the debug TID 3418069. I'll put that in chat. ZCM debug. And then I think I have a ZSD debug as well. Remember that the service, what's the difference between service messages and loader messages? Right? The service messages talks to the devices and user requests. Loader messages is all the built-in tasks and the stages and the maintenance and scheduled stuff. So think of it as a loader loading all the stuff needed on the primary server, and that includes, scheduled tasks and stages. The services gives the services out to the user and the device. Okay, so if you're looking for a remote control issue with a particular box to a primary server, and you know which primary server ZCC was logged in on, you would go to the service messages log. Right? Again, your ZCC log, all your ZCC operations will show that activity. Your zman log, which we looked at. The ATS log logs authentication traces. So that's handy if you're having login issues or slow login issues or those types of things. Also, we're looking at Novell ZENworks configure log for system update configure actions. If you're having some issues there, or pre-global actions. And of course, the locations of those logs down at the bottom there. And then ZCM agent side, same TID will have some information regarding debugging other areas, whether it's remote control or let's see if we can bring that up. Will it pop up? Yep, there it goes. So this has information on the adaptive agent, if you're debugging that, if you're debugging bundles, if you're debugging the XSplash agent startup, where to set it. So this one's a registry key. Database migration. This TID has been out there a long time. You've probably run into this before. So it is this particular TID that is a master TID for debugging on ZCM. Again, you have ZMD messages log. So you'd grab the services log on, if you have remote control, you'd grab the services log off of the primary server ZCC is logged into that you're trying to remote control from, and then the ZMD messages log. You should be able to pair up the times to see what's going on. The NetZMD log is the agent initialization. Here's just some of the other logs are listed here for patch and for FDE and so forth. And then analysis for service desk systems. Here's a few TIDs. You have on the 9443 console, grab the logs, and those are the best because it actually includes some other things like I said, the database and licensing and the version and so forth. ZSD console reports logs, and then debugging info also for that. There's collection heap dump, there's cookbook, which references upgrades. This one here is the debugging for ZENworks Service Desk. All right, has different versions, so you have to be prepared if you're setting debugging information there. It's gotten better as far as logging continues to get a little bit better each time, Service Desk. So we're trying to improve that each round. All right. Now let's get into content. Who loves content? What is content? Content bundles, policies, images, yeah, all of the above, right? we're going to talk a little bit about content cleanup, or at least look at content out there. For instance, system updates is a content, product recognition is content. Trying to clean up old versions of bundles and policies that aren't being used, or old images, right? So we get calls occasionally from customers saying, "Hey, I ran out of disk space. Oh, I need to clean up some stuff. What can I clean up?" Right? So here's some things to look at as far as content cleanup. Now, to determine what content in your content repo goes to which bundle, there's a YouTube out there for diagnosing content. I did it back on update 2. It still pertains. It's actually pretty good. It'll walk you through a little exercise. It's very short. And I encourage everybody to go out there and just kind of walk through that so you can kind of see what content files and where it exists in the content repo, and what it's attached to in the ZCC. Okay, let's go back over to our Postgres database. Okay, so we did this. We know about, we could see who our master primary is. We could see who has our cert. We know where our database exists with this one. So we do get occasionally where people say, what about, I need to know what bundles don't have an assignment. Okay, so we have this query here. Let's see if I can run it. So, and in mine, it's going to be a lot because it's a lab and I do more bundles and policies than I do devices. But for the most part, to give you a show, you can see that these have an assignment, or these do not have an assignment. All right. Again, I'll put this query in the descriptions. And you can see, well, they may be taking up content or space, right? One, if I'm not using them, I can probably go ahead and remove them. Or if they're for future, I need to, maybe they're an example also, or a template. So you got to be careful of that. But you can see there's a lot in here. Now you're going to ask, what about the size? Okay, I know what's not attached, but what's the size? Now you all know you can go into here, bundles. If I do this, I should be able to see what the size is by hitting compute. Okay, there's nothing here. For some reason, I thought, I must not have attached the file. Yeah, it's just a launch execute. Okay, that makes sense. But if we attach it, let's go ahead and go there. No, not that one. Is that the one I was looking for? I was looking for Cisco. Let me go back to bundles. I want all caps. Oh no, that was it. So let's go ahead and assign a relationship to it. Add. And I'll just pick a device. In that script, we have, that's what I wanted, was a CNA. Let's see if I have the Cisco. Where is it? There it is right there. So this should go away. Number 60. Let's run this again. And it's gone. Okay. So this shows what's not assigned, which is good. Can superseded files be removed? That's a very good question, Kurt. As long as you don't have the older agents out there, the reason why I say that is because maybe you have a 20.0 agent out there and you're on 20.1, but And obviously 20.1 superseded 20.0. If you had a 20.0 that needed to be repaired and couldn't move forward, or your XP devices on 11.4, obviously they've been superseded. You want to make sure you don't remove those, right? So that you still have access to those. So that's where a little bit of, remember in the beginning, we talked a little bit about having some of that corporate documentation so you know if you have any of those XP or if you expired them, right? Or if you decommission them. So that's a great question. Can superseded files be removed? It depends. I hate when I get that answer. But yeah, it depends. Okay, and I hope that makes sense to you. All right, let's move on. So now we're going to do bundle file content based on file size. So here's a query. Let me move this a little bit. And so Stream can record at least that. And we're going to go ahead and hit OK. And now you have your size here. Now, the interesting thing is, I don't have version in here, but each one of these, you probably are asking, what the heck? I got the same file size. So, and notice the ZUID, I didn't encode that. Had I encoded that, I would get the GUID of the actual device or bundle. Let's do that, actually. That's a good, it's encode right here. Let me grab this. Control C. And we are doing, see if I can do this right, because I'm going to try this. I want to say it goes here. Select, yeah. I am not, and I'm leery about screwing this up because now I'll have to put it back. And let's see. I don't think I did that right. Yeah, I didn't. Oh, because this should be ZUID. Yeah, it's ZENworks ZUID. Yeah. Get this back to where it was. I need to encode for that. Oh, that was not there. Oh, it was right here. I did the wrong one. Sorry. Stand back. File size based on file size. So we want to do here. Let's see if that works. There we go. Okay, so now you have the GUID. All right. And what the file name is, and the path of the bundle. Okay. So we can go into these, and if I have multiple versions, I may have multiple, content. One thing about content is, oh, Kurt has a question. So a customer should not remove those superseded files until they have baselined their environment, like 20 update 1. If customers remove them, what issues will they see? If older agents need them, good question. So it's not that they shouldn't remove them, because I normally leave one. When I was an administrator, I'd leave one back, right, just in case, because most of my stuff, before I go on to the next one, I'd have it on at least the current. I'd have it baseline before I go on to the next one. I'd try to do that. Not always, obviously, but at least they could move forward to the next level. If it was, let's say, 2017 update 3 going to 2020, you obviously don't need, unless there's specific use for those superseded files, you can remove them, right? Because if you're 2017 and you start having agent problems on that 2017 update 3 and your zone's at 2020 update 1, well, the obviously thing to do is upgrade it to 2020 update 1, right? Unless there's a specific need, XP can't do that, right? Or 32-bit, or it's something that's related just for it's for that device. So I hope that clarifies what you're saying. You can remove them. I wouldn't say should not. I would say be careful and give us a ring if you're uncertain. But it is a maybe, because if there is, so here's another instance. 2017 update 3. We have a device that's 2017 update 3. You have now got most everybody up to 2017 update 4, FRU1. You haven't moved to 2020 yet. You're still in 2017. And you decide to enable endpoint management and file disk encryption. Well, your 2017 update 3, if you remove those superseded files, it will be one of the issues that would come across. Okay, makes sense? So enabling and disabling those spokes could have an impact if you've removed the superseded files. Maybe you just hadn't gotten to FDE yet and you're just starting to try it out, and you happen to pick a box that was on an older rev, but you've removed the superseded. You'll probably chase your tail a little bit. Okay? Does that make sense? So there are some dependencies that do line up if you need to. And what you would do in that case is obviously upgrade to 2017 update for FRU1 and then do the FDE. But there's those dependencies you have to think about. So baselining obviously is the utopia. But if you ask me if I ever baseline mine where I worked previously, it was very difficult to. Maybe my training room, but as you all know, it gets pretty difficult to manage devices that aren't always touched every day. Okay. And yes, that does. I will if there are issues. I just have them upgrade to the latest. Yeah, right. I mean, that's just what you do. You just upgrade to the latest. Thanks, Kurt, for that conversation. Any other questions regarding that, let me know. I think that helps. So there are superseded files. Where are those files? Where do those files exist? I think this probably logged me out again. Root. If we went into our 27, let's go back over here, and we will go to C program file. Well, ZENworks work content repo system update. Okay, so you have it here. And if you've done upgrades and not cleaned this out, the next ZENcast I'll have a slew of these so that we could see and how to remove some of that content. Zman sudo, and then -F will Zman sudo with GUID -F will remove this particular update. So that's actually our 20 update 1. So 50 is a system update. That's the version. That's the subversion. And I don't know if you guys can see that. I'm sorry. That's the subversion, right? And then this is the timestamp. Okay. In this case, this is a PRU. And I think 5D is all PRUs are all 5D. Okay. So great questions. I appreciate that. Yeah, baseline before they enable endpoint. Yeah, it's probably something like endpoint or enabling a spoke. Yeah, be cautious if you've removed any of those superseded. Get a baseline. If you're baselined, you're pretty much pure. But if you're not, then you can have some tail chasing as far as, wondering why it's not working or if there's a file missing or something because you removed the superseded. Okay, so that's under system. So that's system updates. You have content. And then in here is your content, which is compressed. All right. This is what shoots over to your box when you're doing your bundle deployment or policy deployment. This is what comes across. It's compressed unless you check don't compress. Okay. There's also ZENworks. I'll get myself lost here. Yeah, I won't confuse you with that. The work is where you want to see your content. Okay. Your collection's in here for inventory as well. Okay. We covered that on a ZENcast a little while back. So work is a very busy location. All right. Let me see where we're still on content. Oh, we're going to do another PGAdmin. So check replication to which servers. So all of these will go to all primary servers by default in satellites if selected by default. So if we run this particular command for content, you can see what's replicated. Specified servers, notepad test, specified servers. I think that's the only one I did out of order, and that's where I reverted. So let's go on and look at that. If we go to Notepad++, okay, the test, we will see under settings that I modified the server replication. Actually, cancel. You can see it here. It's not taking the system. It's doing its own right at not the folder, but the bundle level. So we can make these. We said exclude. We can go ahead and do another one. Let's go ahead and cancel that. Let's go to let's say export. Let's do settings, primary server. We're going to override the system, right? And this is a way to revert back to the system. Okay. And then we're going to exclude this from ZCMPry1 and hit apply. Now, right now, the status is it's available on both. It should go away. So now if we go back over to PGAdmin and we run this again, of course, that was the export action sys request. And it should be obvious because it'll be the only other one that says specified servers. There it is there. Okay. All right, so again, some content things to be aware of so you can see if they're not associated, if they're what the file sizes might be. Remember, you have cleanup on these as well. You have ZCC. Let's go over to bundles and let's go to license. Let's so Microsoft. Let's say install. And is there any? Yeah, I'm going to have a hard time, I think. Oh, let's go to Adobe. Adobe. Is there in here? Darn it. I was looking for a file size. Should be able to find out here. If we run here. Oh, Adobe Acrobat Pro install. So testing COF Adobe Acrobat. So I simulated some of mine. External corporations. Oh, for goodness sakes, where was that? Testing area. Okay. testing area, COF, and that was install files. Compute. So you can see 552, so half a gig, pretty large. And how many versions do I have? None. Okay. So if I do this and I hit finish, now I have version 0. Let's say I make a change and it'll request me to publish. Now, if I were to add under actions more files, right? Do another install directory. And some of those files were the same, meaning the MD5 checksum would be exactly the same. It would then do some content reconciliation and say, for these two versions or for these two bundles, it uses the same file. So you won't have it out there twice. Okay? You will for the moment, and then in the evening it'll go through some reconciliation and actually taper that down so your content is the same, as long as the content is exactly the same. Otherwise, you would have half a gig in version 1. We still only have, yeah, we have a half a gig. Let's go ahead and run this again. Let's see what we got. Again, I didn't put versions on here. Probably we'll do that next time. But we'll see, we can see that there's setup ini, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so you got to remember, clean up old versions is where I'm going to, and this is where you delete the older versions. And you can, if you have a lot of them, you can delete older than X, so you keep a couple still too, also. But if you want to delete all older versions, you'll now see that we only have a version 1 and there's no 0. Okay. Kurt, let's see. Superseded files are found under the ZENworks, under install downloads, primary servers, under folders like RPM MSI. Let's go look. Thanks, Kurt. Let's go to my GCM primary. It's behind. Yeah, thanks for pointing that out. Okay, so you have MSI and RPMs. This is for your packages. Okay. For the superseded he's referring to. So you can see all the 20.0s here, right? CD. Okay, and you can see that under here too. If you go to downloads, ZENworks, this is where I get myself in trouble because it's not here. ZENworks, install, downloads, MSI. See, there's superseded. These could go. So if I really needed to free up some space, I can remove these. And that's what Kurt's referring to, right, Kurt? And same with these here. You look for some of the older ones. This is a brand new install. ZCM Pri 1 was a 2020 build, so you won't see any older. But this one obviously had some older builds in it. You can remove these because I'm not running any 2017. Or am I? Okay, yeah, I did create this too. So you're saying which one of my devices is older? If you go and there's a small highlights on this as well. Look for out under ZENworks, not ZENcast, but ZENworks, highlights. You'll see under advanced search, you can create these. And let me do this so that we can see. You can add, and you can put a filter in, right? And all I did was pick the agent version, right? And so I can see how many devices are update 3. Search. None. I can see how many 2017 update X. All right. So that's under devices advanced search. Let me get this a little bit smaller so we can see that. So you have your basic search over here, but if you wanted to go into advanced search, you can apply some filters. And you can see everything that's the different versions. Okay? So if you're wondering, how do I determine which devices are, you can set up your filters here. I'm going to go update 4, search. There's one. Update 4 FRU1. There's one. I had one here. I don't know. Yep, still have one. And then my servers should show up here. Yep. Okay. So this is a hidden gem right here. This is a hidden gem. So if you want to see what stage your devices are at, retired or not, this will show you, unless you filter it out. You want to take out your retired filter. Okay. Good. Thanks, Kurt. Yeah, that's very helpful. So now we've looked at that. We've cleaned up some of our content. Which one is this? Which ones we did? Which ones on which server? Which content is on which server? Oh, whoa. Let me move this down a little bit. And so, we did this one. So we can see that one's on a specified server. Okay. And then replication settings. Which ones disagree with the zone settings? Which bundles? Actually, I think this is at the folder level. So for instance, if we go to our folders, workstations, sorry, we're going to go to bundles. We'll go to test, and we'll go to details on test. And that'll get us to the folder settings, right? The folder details. And if we go ahead and we change this, override, and go to primary server, we're going to say, we're going to override that, and we're going to exclude. I'll exclude from both. Okay? And then we're going to exclude, we don't want this content anywhere. Or maybe just one server. All right. Wouldn't make sense not to have it anywhere. So it's only included there. We hit apply. Now if we can see which bundles, which is this one right here, are set at a folder level. And I don't have the one for at a bundle level, but I'm sure that can be pretty easy as well. But this is the content here. So you can go to this particular folder and reset. So that's the thing. As the ZENworks zone evolves, certain settings with different administrators happen. How do you determine where some of those are? What they set, which ones aren't? That's pretty easy because you have a filter for that in the devices. You can say test mode or not, right? Or lost or retired. But if you, as far as the folder, from the folder or the bundle view, how do you figure that out? So you have this particular one, which is folder replication settings, disagree with zone settings. And I have to say thank you for my colleagues, Johan and Susan and Craig and others that have given me some of these. And we just leverage off of each other, these particular queries. Okay, and all of these are non-intrusive. They don't update anything. They're just looking at your system. And that's part of your maintenance, right? Just being able to look at your system and glean and figure out what's going on. Okay. Any other questions regarding those areas? I'm going to move on. Content cleanup. Oh, and after you do some cleanup, make sure you do the CTC, right? And that'll do content trigger cleanup because it does go in to a queue to be deleted. Even though you've deleted it, it's not in ZCC anymore, that version, still CTC has to run or cleanup has to run, and that's typically every night for it to remove. And you can force that by doing a zman CTC. We already went to the lab. So again, we'll do a little bit of changes coming up. The next time we'll try and get these side by side so that you can view them. Again, best practices guide, monitor and tuning guide. Oh, and advanced concepts. One thing I put this in there. It's oh, hello. Monitoring and tuning. Let's go look. Must have had a bad Control F. Let's find it. Oh, there it is. Actually, it's best practices. And we'll go in here. I have to change that. Or is it? Where was that? Both of those links are bad. I thought I copied them directly. Monitor and tuning. So remember, you have your tuning for your primary servers, your RAM. You can also specify different servers having different roles, meaning these two are ZCC servers only, and turning ZCC off a couple other primaries so that administrators only go to a couple of them. But you can adjust your heap size. This is all documented fairly well on how to do that and if you should need to. Again, looking at your diagnostics and your tuning. Your diagnostics tools and your probe is mentioned in here. Your ZENworks server used in Visual VM, and then tuning your agent. All right, making sure that you can tune those. Remember the advanced concepts in here. I find this quite interesting that you can actually get very, very detailed depending on what you need to do. Hibernate logging, so you can pick up some very detailed logs here. I'm looking for a different best. I thought it was in best practices, but maybe not. Update 1, DCMCM deployment. Yeah, it's all in best practices. Okay. I just have a bad link there for some reason, I guess. But yeah, I wanted to make sure you saw the advanced concepts so that you can dig deeper into some of those. Very, very detailed in here, but good stuff. Good stuff to be able to dig down deeper. Delete that. Let me go on and see what we have. So, are there any other questions for the lab? I know it was kind of, I appreciate the feedback from the chat. That really helps dial into some of your questions you might have. Looking to see if there's anything else you want to cover before we go into the next maintenance. Or even better yet, what would you like to see next time? We covered a little bit of content. Time is limited, so I don't want to drag it out all day. I want to make sure that you get what you need, at least some resources so that you can get it at your fingertips and you can research it, kind of like the this YouTube for diagnosing content. So is there anything else that you'd like to know next week or next year? Hey, it's going to be next year. Remember, we don't meet in 2 weeks. We'll meet the beginning of January. And I want to make sure that we have more things to cover, which we will. It's such a large process. And the other thing is, if you go out to the survey, I'd really appreciate it if you fill that out, so we can tailor it to what you guys are looking for. I'm told content seems to be fairly good, but I'm trying to get it formatted so that we can do side-by-side stuff and be able to streamline the knowledge that's being passed on. Okay, so if you'd fill out that survey, that'll help. I'll be having some other things in the ZENworks maintenance next time, more database tools, right? One thing we didn't cover is the flow of the writes. Remember, the writes settings that's closest to the object wins. So if I can backtrack a little bit here and go over to ZENworks. So if there's a write setting on this particular object, this will win out over any object, any setting that's above it. Okay, so any of these settings, if I set my closest server rules and I override, or if I set inventory collection schedule and override, closest to the object wins. Okay, so you can set it here. You can then also set it on your folder, right? There's settings here. You could set it on a work group or a user group. All right, closest wins. What was that? Okay, so we didn't cover much of that, but I want to make sure that you're aware of that. That you have to go into details for the folder also in settings. Otherwise, they take the system role right here. Okay, I'll see if I can get a couple more queries for different devices and users that might have settings different than the system that's been overridden. So I'll play with that a little bit. And then if you have any suggestions, again, I'll be looking at the surveys, or you can email me. And my email is paul.pedron@microfocus.com. Please use that. Email it to me. Say, hey, I like this on a ZENcast. Can you talk about this? We'd like to fit it in. So